Some other things we can do with the UI: if you hold the Alt key and right click on an operator, it's going to remove him. In order to get him back, to undo, the best way is to go up to the Edit menu and say Undo Remove. If you click and drag a box around multiple operators, it'll highlight them in white. And then you can right click now. You can see some new TP3 operators here, but you can say Remove and it'll take all of them out. Or you can bring them back again with Undo Remove. Let's talk a little bit about this right click menu. You see groups, conditions, operators, helpers, and block boxes. These are the same categories that we have up here. It's just an alternate way to access them. So we can say create a group all, and it'll create one right there for us. As well, we could say create a generator, position born, it'll create that there. And again, we'll hold the Alt key and right click to get rid of them. Some other basics of the UI. If you select multiple operators and click and drag, you'll notice you're only moving one at a time. If you want to move multiple, you want to control them. So you're going to hold Control and click and drag, and now you can move them as a block. As well, if you want to duplicate an operator, you can hold the Shift key, click and drag, and that'll create a duplicate. We'll hold the Alt key and right click to get rid of them. And if we click and drag around multiple and we hold Control Shift, we can duplicate and move that whole block at once. So a real fast way to duplicate multiple things. This also works with dynamic sets. We're going to go ahead and create another dynamic set, but something new in TP3, we're able to reorder dynamic sets simply by clicking and dragging them. You can see this black arrow down means that it's going to go underneath him. This is the empty one on top. We'll click and rename him Empty. And if we drag Empty underneath dynamic set, he's going to be placed underneath. This is very useful because TP evaluates these rules top down. Starts up at the top, evaluates this rule, moves on, evaluates this rule, and just kind of repeats itself every sample of time. So anytime you want certain things to happen in a certain order, you need to place them so that they occur in the evaluation order. This also works with groups. Let's rename some of these so we can tell which ones they are. And of course the required blue. And we can drag red, and we can see that same black down arrow means red's going to be moved underneath him. Blue can be moved above red, but we can also now drag blue to the side over the plus icon of red to make him a child of red. This also works with dynamic sets. If we take this dynamic set here, not only can we move above him, but if we drag onto that icon, the D icon, it will give us a sideways arrow, and that will move that dynamic set underneath this other dynamic set to create a child dynamic set. So now as we select this empty dynamic set, we can see this dynamic set appear here. Also to note, in the work area here, of course, we've got two dynamic sets listed. We've got empty, which is on top, corresponds to this one, and then this dynamic set, which let's go ahead and rename to creation. Oops, let's try that again. Creation. So with creation selected, it's highlighted in blue. All we see in the work area is the creation workspace. A little refresh there. Okay, so as we select empty, we can see creation inside of him, and then if we select creation, we can access his work area. Also, if we select empty, we can hold Control and pan up and down inside this workspace. Let's go ahead and resize this down quite a ways. So if we're dealing with a very large or deep or long dynamic set, and we want to be able to pan up the whole viewport, you hold Control. And again, if you want to duplicate something, you hold Shift and drag. you can duplicate an entire dynamic set, and it'll duplicate all of his parameters here, same as there. To remove them, you hold Alt and right-click. And to zoom out, let's go ahead and click on there. To zoom out again is Alt and click and mouse drag up or down. So some other things about the TP UI. If you select the master dynamic, we'll go ahead and collapse that first section and expand the schematic view. You're able to modify all the colors that you see out here. So if you really want to get creative, you can do that. And you can also see down here at the bottom, I believe these are not default. I have them set up my own way. But we can enable a grid, so we can see a grid show up. It's kind of faint right now. I have a custom grid color, but we can make it especially dark. You can also have shadows appear underneath the operators now. Let's go back to the master dynamic in a schematic view, and we're going to turn off grid so we can actually see these shadows. So the shadow opacity is adjustable. We can make it 255 full color, so it's just kind of a solid. We can back off and we can see just kind of a faded version of it there. There's also, we can see these bended wires. This is new in TP3. We have the ability to disable bended wire if we want. It's in a checkbox here, as well as we could disable the shadow. And you can see that we go back to the old TP 2.5 straight lines and no shadow. And of course also the last basic ones we've got are the text anti-aliasing and line connection anti-aliasing. It's going to give us a kind of just a fast draw, simple, rough version.